Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today I'm doing a pre-release tier list with my friends Io, Sol, and Rehoo, who also covers Zenless Zone Zero, by the way, so make sure to check them out after this video. The pre-release tier list will be based on our thoughts on the character kits, as well as our experiences playing them, as we all have been in the previous closed betas. Before we get into today's video though, let me know one of your favorite video games. For today's recommendation, I have to go with Kirby Superstar Ultra. If you guys enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe to win your first 50/50 in Zenless Zone Zero. Leave a like, support the video, and now let's get straight into it. We're going to be starting off with the starter characters, which consists of Billy, Anby, and then Nicole. But we're going to start off with Billy. I just want to know, what do you guys think of
Tier
Billy?
3.
Okay,
But
why?
Easy.
well, he's not but he,
Go ahead.
Wow.
Billy
Before we
Billy
go
is
on,
pretty good.
before we go on, I just want to say it's not that he's actually but we're not like in terms of using the character, but like there's a lot to be desired from him. But go ahead, Sol.
Yeah, Billy is a pretty good unit. He's really good for the part of him being very flexible, so he can be on field. He can be on field DPS or sub DPS.
Yeah.
It's just that he has a lot of competition in the element that he's in, as well as being an attacker. So he's a physical attacker.
Right.
And he has to compete against other characters like Corrin and Nekomata and all that. So he's pretty good for a starter unit, but it's just there's just other units better than him. That's all.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could see the other units have potentially just more damage output as well. And as you said, like it is pretty competitive. So I can see him being on the lower side of things, but it doesn't mean he's a bad character by any means. Like I feel like if you're trying to go more of like a free-to-play route, he's still a pretty decent option overall. But even then, depending on what standard DPS character you get from the discounted banner, I'd probably say to more than likely invest into them more so instead, in my personal opinion. Io, do you have any opinions on Billy or no? Not really.
Decent. Use them if you have them. I
What do you mean if you have him? Everyone
like
has
he's
him.
or rather use him if you don't have anyone else.
Dang, they must be doing a no pull account. That's crazy.
Hey, I've seen it before on YouTube. You know, they got those.
He going into tier 3, no contest.
Do you guys think he's a tier 3 character, or would you
Yes.
probably...
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think tier 3
Okay.
is reasonable.
If we need to readjust, we'll be doing that as we go. Maybe we might change our mind on certain things, but for right now, we can just definitely put him in tier 3. What about Anby? Anby is a
Tier 0.
electric...
No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say he lied.
Tier 0.
Anby is an electric stun character, so I feel like because she is our free stun character, that like early game at least, and also technically for free-to-play accounts as well, that may not end up getting the premium stun characters, I do feel like she's pretty good at her role. That's just my personal opinion, just from playing her overall. I think she's a pretty decent starter character.
As the Anby main myself, I think she's a really nice character.
Yeah.
But with the competition that she has around her, she significantly gets like reduced in the priority and the value that she has as a character. I'm gonna wait to say my position on the tier list. But
Mhm.
overall, she's just a really nice character, like for sure. Especially if you're building up a lightning team.
Yeah,
She's definitely
for
a
sure.
character you're gonna have on that team for sure, just because of how much day she actually adds on to the end. And then she also with talents gives you energy as well. So that's a big boost in what you're able to do with Anby. And she has a lot more supportive abilities than just doing days.
Yeah, I do feel like she can, in a sense, be a pretty flexible spot depending on the team comp you have, because of the fact that she definitely can help out with days. And you definitely want to take advantage of that days meter as much as you can, just because of the additional benefits you get from stunning enemies, which is, you know, you deal more damage to them, they're immobilized. So taking advantage of the stun mechanic definitely, in my opinion, gives her a better amount of value, just because of the fact she is a starter character. You're going to be able to take advantage, just building up days super quickly. As for Sol or Io, what do you guys think about Anby? Do you guys feel like she's a good starter character, or do you not really see the value in her, or do you think she's actually really, really good.
I think I'll be pretty decent. I think she's one of them. She's one of the ones that I would say she's not a priority to build, but if you do want to build her, you do get quite a decent amount of mileage out of her. For me, example, I know I'm going for Zhu Yuan, so I'm more than likely going to build her since that's more than likely the main team that Zhu Yuan can use at the moment. So she's gonna be one. She's gonna be one of the units I focus. I think she's pretty strong. I'm going to say my tier placement. She will probably be like T2.
Oh, that's exactly
top
what I
of
want to put her
T2.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
T2 for me
I
too.
do agree with the Zhu Yuan aspect, because with Zhu Yuan in particular, if you do pull her, you could definitely make that free-to-play team where it's Zhu Yuan, Nicole, and Ambi. Ambi will be your stunner, Nicole will be your supportive ether character for Zhu Yuan, and just Nicole's utility in general. But we'll get into Nicole in a little bit. But I think that's a really good free-to-play team option that people will have access to if they do pick up Zhu Yuan.
Like if we were just looking at this from what's on the board right now, she's tier 1. You don't have another stun character in the game until you get one of the 5 stars. And neither of the limiteds are stuns. So you really have to, like, especially like as a free-to-play / casual, if you don't get Colada or Lycan, then you just have to use
That's true.
Ambi. So it's like she's not specifically in a weaker spot, but then when we start adding like Colada and then Lycan, it just depends on where they get placed into where Ambi would go.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that. And that's what I was trying to like say a little bit earlier, is I do think because of the fact that she is free and the fact that the only other 2 stun characters on release are Colada and Lycan, I do think that does add a bit of value for her in general, especially if you don't end up getting those 2 characters. So I can agree with tier 1 or tier 2. Do you guys think we should just place her for tier 2 right now or tier 1?
Either one's fine. Like in my thought, if she's tier 2, I would put her at the top of tier 2. If she's T1, she would probably be either at the bottom or the lower end of tier 1. But like EO said, just depends on our placement for everybody else. But we can put a tier 1 for now.
Okay, we could just have her in 1 and then just readjust. What do you guys think of Nicole?
T1.
I was gonna say top of T1 for sure.
I think Nicole is a pretty good unit. She has a decent amount of versatility with the fact that she can provide defense reduction for any team, even without having her additional ability. With the whole being a part of her faction or same unit, same element. She's the only other ether unit besides Zhu Yuan, but her biggest issue is that she will either need another ether unit with her to fully maximize her potential, or she'll have to have a Cunning Hairs member. But the only thing with that is that the other Cunning Hair members are solid, but unless you get like Nakomata and then like probably pair her with some get like a third unit, I think not having Nicole's additional ability activated does kindly slightly weaken her, especially if we're going off of just having one copy of her. But I would probably put her at the bottom of how we have it now, at the bottom of T1.
I do definitely agree with Soul regarding her being one of the only other ether characters other than Zhu Yuan. When you make the Zhu Yuan team, more than likely you will have to just place her with Nicole, because we also don't have any of Zhu Yuan's faction yet. I do think though with Nicole and Ambi that it's a nice free-to-play core, I guess, like a baseline, because you do have your support and then you do have your stunner.
For Nicole, in all honesty, I thought I was gonna put Ambi in tier 2 and Nicole in tier 1, only because, again, the scarcity of ether in the game at the current moment, and then the amount of times you can proc disorder with how Nicole has her orbs and how frequently she's able to apply it, especially with how cracked it is when you have Zhu Yuan, and if you want to use Grace as well on top of it, you can get some really nasty things on top. And the corruption reaction as well is omega busted. Like having that dot on the enemy when you attack them is kind of nasty, because that's just a bunch of free damage for doing what you were already doing. I personally, just because in Ambi's sake, she's a little bit more universally applied and can be put onto different teams, I just think the scarcity and the potential of what Nicole's able to do out the gate, in my opinion, puts her in tier 1 for me.
Okay.
And
it's just I think it's the most borked thing about those 3 units.
Yeah.
I think the worst aspect about those 3 units is that they're all a part of the same faction. I think if they were a part of different factions, they would be a lot more flexible units, because a lot of their strength comes tied to that you're kind of locked to needing both 2 of them on the same team in order for them to get full capability, depending on who it is. And I feel like if they were a part of different factions, they wouldn't feel as restrictive as they do. But even still, they're not like super restrictive.
Yeah, we could just put her in tier 1 for right now. Let's go with Grace. For me personally, I think Grace is pretty dang good. I think the fact that she's able to build up attribute anomaly and trigger the electric version of that, which is shock onto enemies pretty frequently, is very powerful, especially when you do have another elemental character on the team. And triggering disorder is just very, very strong. You're going to be able to deal a bunch of damage from that. And I do personally feel like in the future, she will be one of those characters that can potentially have even more value just because of the fact of how quickly she can trigger attribute anomalies. And once we get even more characters that can also trigger it pretty fast, if you just continuously kept shocking the enemy, and then if you swapped into another anomaly character, just another character that could build it up pretty fast. For example, with Piper, you could do assault, and then you would have that shock, assault, and then disorder, and it's just really, really powerful. So I feel like in the future, Grace will probably get some more spotlight, but I do think she's a very good electric character. She's really mobile, so she moves pretty quickly, and she just has really good build up.
So based on your tier list, Grace is easily a 0.5 character. At this current point in time, based off my testing, the fastest anomaly stacker in the game. She has some of, if not the best, actually she's second best now. Second best mobility. She has good damage for her kit. It's not too crazy, but it's not too weak. And she has a lot of good switch tech opportunities. And because of her range and the ability to chuck grenades almost endlessly while building meter at the same time, she has a lot of options for quick assist and surprise chain attacks. So overall, like the way that I've explained it, if you're pretty good at execution, then Grace is, you'll immediately see value in Grace as a player. But if you're not good at execution and like you just mash shit, then you're not gonna see the value in Grace.
Grace, I don't know much about her. That's why I let EO go. I ain't gonna lie. I was in the beta. I was just left clicking with her.
Oh no,
that's wild.
I didn't pull her, so I think the only time I had the chance to play her was when they had like the Bella Bog section. To use her. And she wasn't that fun for me, so that's why I didn't bother to learn too much about her. So yeah, I don't have too much input on her.
For Grace, for me, God tier AoE in this game at the current moment. Her dealing with attribute anomaly, definitely gonna be something that they're gonna hone in on, especially with how they like to keep the trend of having some secondary stat get absolutely absurd later on in the game. Like how elemental mastery is for Genshin, how break effect is for Star Rail. Pretty sure there's gonna be the same thing for Zenless, and we're eventually gonna get a character that capitalizes it off perfectly, and Grace is gonna be there to take that in, I guess, say potential or investment. So that coupled with like the majority of the early game to mid game being straight robots, where she's gonna be able to stun them infinitely with her shocks. I don't think there's any other place to put her but 0.5 at the current moment. I do say really quickly though, is I think we got the Shiv, Nicole, and Ambi down a tier, only because I'm seeing some of these foresters that I'm remembering. There's no way these foresters are gonna be in the same tier as Ambi and Nicole.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, for Grace, I think right now a good placeholder for Grace would definitely be the 0.5. I'm sure someone could probably maybe even argue beyond that, depending on, once again, what they do in the future with attribute anomaly. So I'm very excited how her potential will be, especially in the future. But when the game launches, she'll be really, really good. Let's go with Corrin. What do you guys think about
Tier 1 easy.
Corrin? Okay.
Tier 1 easy. Sorry, I'm just gonna go ahead and get what I gotta say, because Corrin, the time I used her, they have toned her down twice, and she's still equally as busted as she was, or around that range, when they kept toning her down. She just destroys enemy just because she wants to. As soon as you use her chainsaw hold down, they're getting that daze meter immediately built up to 100, and they're getting assaulted, and then they get evaporated for like 50k damage or something like that. She's absolutely absurd as a 4-star DPS. And not only that, she also has, if I'm not wrong, it's a physical res down, if I'm not wrong. That's a big boost to have, especially for something like Nekomata down the line, whoever else is physical, that's nasty to have. So for her to have high days, for her to have the potential to be able to assault super easy, and for her to be able to lower physical res down is absolutely insane. So in my opinion, she's immediately a tier 1.
Okay, and then even to double down on that with Corrin, now that we have like that information about Piper and she's a physical anomaly build up,
Mm-hmm.
they're both like neck and neck, like right next to each other.
Yeah.
Because if you put Corn on that team, then you're reducing the basically like the physical resistance that they would have, and then Piper is building up the anomaly and reducing it, and they both stack anomaly for physical really fast. So the two of them together on a team, theoretically, you're just gonna see assault, assault.
Yeah.
And assault's like the second best, if not the best. I haven't decided if it's assault or freeze for me, but assault is such a nasty attribute effect in this game, man. Taking away like a clean clunk or chunk of somebody's HP is ridiculous.
If they're alive still.
If
they're
you don't
alive.
die.
Yeah, if you somehow don't die, you still lost half of your health with that one reaction.
The fact that she is a part of the Victoria Housing Company, that is the most broken faction in the game right now.
Bro.
they have so much synergy with units outside of their faction and within each other that it really isn't any bad unit on that with Neko. She could work with Reina and Lycan, who are two of some of the best characters in the game. Then she's gonna be able to work with Pipers, like, and then she's strong on her own after, like Reef said, after being nerfed twice. You can't put her any lower than tier 1.
Nah, that's funny though how they kept trying to change her. Like, okay, maybe she's a little bit busted back then. Maybe she's a little bit.
And we get her for free.
Yeah,
We
she's
get her for
free.
Yeah, we
She-
get her for free too, yo.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like Corrin, especially because she is free, she's a really, really good physical DPS character. She can build up days a good amount for sure. She can also trigger the assault, which assault is also just very, very powerful. If you have other elemental characters, I mentioned this with Grace, you're going to be able to trigger disorder now as well, and that'll just be a very strong thing to be able to take advantage of. So the fact that she is free from pre-registration, I would definitely put her on the higher end when it comes to like the free characters you're going to be getting, when it comes to deciding who to potentially build outside of the standard S rank that you will be getting. I think Corrin has really, really high value for just a damage dealer in general. So I will agree. I do think she's tier 1, really good physical damage dealer, and has quite a lot of benefits to her. Next up, we have Lycan. What do you guys think about the boy Lycan?
Big T, first tier 0.
Tier
First
zero.
tier
Oh
zero.
my gosh, you guys
I'm
must
not
at the
gonna
same time.
Tier zero.
I would say there's nobody that can ever debate that this man isn't tier 0.
I'm gonna have to say
He's ice, one of the top 2 strongest elements in the game. He's a stun unit, and he does stun the best. He literally makes it so that any form of enemy, bosses included, cannot play the game.
Yep.
you know that meme with SpongeBob where he was like, "You want me to run to that hill and come back? You want me to
You
do
want
it
me to do it
again?" That's
Yeah.
basically. And if he has his signature, yeah, the days meter is just always 100 no matter what.
Yeah, even better is that like he has because I had to test it out just to make sure, like, without figuring out calcs or whatever. I was like, in game, what can you do? So just basic BNB stuff, basic regular combos of, you know, even if you were to mash this stuff, I guess don't mash it, but even if you did, in Lycan's case, he can daze all mobs and anything like kind of like a mini elite or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll just call them elites. He can daze them in about 1 to 2 combos, depending on, you know, what enemy it is. And then bosses, it typically takes him like 2, maybe 2.5 combos, full combos, to get a full daze bar, like by himself, right? That takes Collate to double. So whatever it takes Lycan, it takes Collate to double. Now, if she's what we consider during CBT2 one of the best dazers in the game, and now we have Lycan. Lycan is now the best dazer in the game. Like, he stomps on her in terms of speed, just being able to daze a character. Then you add freeze on top of that. So not only do they not get able to move, or they're not able to move when they're stunned, but then you freeze them. So now they get shattered on top of that. They still can't move. And something that they added in CBT3, which I think is beautiful. Lycan has the only character in the game that actually amplifies the daze multiplier. So other characters like Coleta or even like Ambi, they increase the daze that they do themselves or that the team does. Lycan increases his own daze that he does to everybody. Then he increases the daze multiplier to 185%. He increases by 35%. So it's kind of ridiculous the amount of potential this character has. He's if you get Lycan, just bro, hey man, keep the account. That's the one.
Overall, just Lycan, yeah, he's just busted. The enemy can't move. He's iced. He gets frozen. If you want to use Lycan's ultimate, that basically turns it from 0 days to 100 days immediately. I don't want to imagine how Lycan is going to be when we give him full impact and has an impact center.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're gonna see
Yeah.
him do a basic, and it's gonna go 0 to 500. He's gonna have 5 bars filled up ready for you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
if you want the best advice, if you coming into this game, you like, I don't know what 5-star I want, like Gam put liking on the list. Gam put liking on the
Yeah,
list.
I feel like Lycan is definitely worthy of a tier 0, especially for this pre-release. We'll see if anything happens on release change-wise. We can come back to this. But I will agree. I think he's really good at building up days and being able to take advantage of that mechanic, as I've mentioned a little earlier in this video, is just really powerful for your team comps. You're going to be able to deal more damage to enemies. They're going to be immobilized. And then the fact that he builds it up very quickly, and his charge attacks also have increased days as well when you charge him up. So he is just a monster when it comes to building up the days meter. And if you guys are interested in Ellen, he is definitely one of her best partners on launch for sure. Their synergy's definitely pretty nice. And they're both part of the Victoria housekeeping group. You're actually going to be able to trigger both of their additional abilities as well if you have them both on the same team. So that's a really nice benefit too. So right off the bat, when it comes to release, I feel like out of these standard characters, he definitely has a lot of value, especially for those that do want Ellen for sure.
Patch knows we took away Lycan's legs.
Ooh, bro, I'd be at Hoyo's door. I'd be like, excuse me, Mr. Lee, we need to have a talk right now. you know that move, that famous move in Street Fighter. I'm about to hit you with that.
They're not about
no.
to Super Saiyan Goku him. They took away the 2M.
No. Okay, next up, let's do Anton. What do you guys think about Anton? I haven't actually played him too much myself, so I'd love to hear what you guys think, and then maybe I can give my own input.
I was about to say, so Anton's probably one of the primary characters I played throughout all of CBT3. I think Anton, him being the only electric DPS in the game, I think he fills that role where if you're looking for it to have an electric synergy, Anton is probably one of your best choices. He does really good damage to be an A tier unit. I just think that over time he's going to be a part of the few characters that's probably going to get lost as more units come in. I do like the fact he has a unique fun factor to him where he's able to do his charge mechanic with his drill. His max powered up. He be dumping, and then once you have a team that's able to capitalize and do disorder with him, I think that's probably where he really shines, which is something that I then built towards during the beta to truly capitalize on his strength, which probably is more so. EO made a comment earlier that he thinks that he's stronger than what we probably would place him, but currently for me, I know some people probably put him tier 3. I would probably put him tier 2.
I want to piggyback off of Soul for sure because I also used Anton for the majority of CBT3 and same in CBT2. That Anton was just my main DPS for the majority of the time I was playing the game. And he does pretty nice damage. The problem is with Anton, I feel like he has the highest potential to be power crept just because of his kit. He doesn't do anything crazily special that other characters in the future aren't able to easily, I guess you could say, improve on. He does nice damage, but he's no Corrin. Like, that's the character we have to compare it to at that point. Is he the Corrin levels of nasty? And with all that Corrin has and what he's able to do and how easy it is for him to get overpowered by another unit in the same role, I think I would have to agree with Soul. He'd have to be in tier 2 in my honest opinion.
Because you mentioned Corrin, we can actually talk about Corrin's like hold attack, right?
Right.
Because that's a pretty big basis on what you're going with. Anton has the same thing. It's just electric. And then with the same concept, like just think of electric Corrin, and that's how you would think of Anton. A lot of what you're doing with Anton is pretty much going into an install. Now in Corrin's case, she doesn't have an install. She just kind of does it, and she can walk with it. Anton can't walk with his, but he puts himself in an install, and then his basic attack turns into like one big hit and then hold for a bunch of mini electric hits. The anomaly buildup that he could have, depending on your build, is probably closer to Grace's than it is like Rena's, right? And then you double that down. So let's say that Grace was on the team. Now you're doing the same thing that I talked about earlier, which is just shock, 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 shock. Or if you did have Rena, it's shock, 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 shock. And then as far as the DPS goes, it's kind of similar to how we look at, I'm trying to think of who has in Starro, right? Like we complain of Jing Yuan's Lightning Lord doesn't hit all the hits, right? Like you want 100% crit rate on multi-hitting characters, yeah? It's similar to that, where if you build him on crit, he hits you like 10, anywhere between like, I want to say like 6 to 12 times per extended basic attack. If all of those crit, that damage is going to skyrocket. You know, if you're doing 10,
Yeah,
12k per hit and you're hitting somebody 6 to 12 times per hit, and let's just say they all crit, that's 120,000 damage at this early in the game. Just from whatever it is that you're doing from that one, you know, one extended basic, and you get 3 of them. So he has the potential to have a lot of damage. And being the only electric DPS character in the game, I would say that he's worth looking into a little bit more. Like I would put him in tier 1. Like if we have Corn there, I would put Anton in tier 1.
I don't know about tier 1 just because I know we're about to talk about other characters that are going to be there, and Anton is not right there with them.
Well, see, that was under the pretense that 0.5 didn't exist, but it exists now. So
I don't know. I just think Anton power wise, like he's the easiest to get rid of, like out of most of these characters.
Not if you don't have if you don't have electric though, you can't get rid of him. Like who's the other electric DPS?
1.1 comes around. All right, guys. Electric DPS. Electric DPS is here. Anton, I'm sorry I leveled you up to level whatever is the highest max. Yeah, you're going in the bin, bro. Sorry.
Well, when that happens, we'll look at it. You know what I mean?
Goes from tier 1 to tier 3 immediately.
If he's T1, I think he's bottom T1. At least for me at the moment, since I haven't seen and I haven't built him to really see that potential in comparison, like what we seen with Corrin. I just like the difference between like what we seen like a physical DPS does in comparison to an electric DPS at this very moment. It just seems like that Corrin's value is a lot stronger.
I can see that, yeah.
I'll just say he could be cooking in the future if he's built right. We could be wrong.
The thing about like Shock though is like when you look at something like Freeze or Corruption or like Assault, like Shock is one of those, even though it has the innate dot that is right, it's the dot that it has on it, right? When you hit Shock, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, even though you have the innate dot with Shock, I feel like it's one of the weaker reactions at the current moment.
It is.
And with Anton, you know, being centered around electricity, he gets that innate debuff, like by being electric. It's kind of like how in Genshin, where Electro just wasn't hitting for the longest time until they added something else to make electric good.
I agree with you on that, but I don't think that would take away from his kit, right? Like for a bit, even with the Genshin relevancy, Kaching was strong. She just didn't have anything to really bring that potential out of her, right? Or she took a little bit more work than the others, which is why I think at this point, I think tier 1 is fine, because like if he does take a little bit more work or a little bit more effort than someone like Ellen, then that makes a little bit more sense, right? Or even Nekomata, because like Nekomata is just Nekomata kind of free. You know, she still takes effort too, but she has a very strong like assault behind her that allows you to not care about certain stuff. I will say though, to add into that, for Anton's case, he has like crazy interrupt resistance when he's in his install. And that's something
that's true.
Like,
that's
yeah,
true.
like you can't just punch him out of it. If he's drilling into you, you're gonna get drilled up.
What?
That's crazy.
Anton gonna drill you good. I did.
That might have to be the intro clip. Like no context given. So you guys thinking tier 1 then? Or at least for
if
right
we'll
now?
put him at tier 1, it's fine. Yeah, it's
Okay,
fine.
we could do it for right now. Okay.
I think we should stop sugarcoating and drag Ella.
Who?
Ellen.
Oh yeah, Ellen's
Wow.
We should
Yeah.
stop sugarcoating it. Even though you said it's not order, get him put in front of Lycan.
Oh
Yes, sir.
my god.
Yes, sir.
Oh my god.
Her only competition in top 1 is Zhu Yuan, but Zhu Yuan just don't have the team yet to compete. But Ellen is out the gate, in my opinion, and I think nobody would disagree, de facto best DPS in the game. She has probably her best team, at least her going to be her best team for a while already upon release. She herself does crazy damage. Her capability of being able to control when she wants to do like her physical damage and but primarily her ice damage with her whole flash freeze mechanic, having her own unique mobility factor and going into her own charge animations that allow her to stack her flash freezes pretty strongly, and then her damage output. That character is stupid. There's no reason that character should be as good as she is, but she is. Poor fool.
That's the reason. Whoa, that's the reason that she's best girl.
Yeah.
That's a weird way to say Ambi, but I guess.
Yeah.
ain't no way.
We also gotta remember, on top of Soul saying that she can control which type of damage she does, she also has guaranteed shatter on her scissor attack as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like she can choose if she wants to keep you in ice, she's keeping you there. If she wants to break you out and then put you back in, she has the ability to do that as well.
She's probably also the easiest character to trigger disorder with. Like as soon as she sets up shatter, you can easily just switch into another unit and trigger disorder pretty quickly with her.
Yeah.
And then you get her other homie for free. So you got half of the team already technically. You just need to get
That's
lucky
true.
on the standard banner.
Yeah, Ellen, I will say that's definitely a huge benefit. She's going to, like, right out the gate, have an incredibly strong team. And if you do end up hypothetically getting Lycan and Ellen, you're basically set. I'm not going to lie. Like, your team is going to be just so powerful that you're going to be able to stun enemies with ease with Lycan. You're going to be able to then, let's say you do use Sokaku, she can help provide buffs for the team. And now with Ellen, she's just a complete powerhouse with how powerful she is. She's very fast, has really good mobility. She could just honestly use her dash. And then she's like, okay, I'm just out of the way. You can't hit me now. And she's just such a great starter DPS character. I'm personally very excited for her. I'm 100% pulling for her myself. I did play her in CBT2 and CBT3. And she's definitely just incredibly powerful for being able to deal so much damage to enemies, especially if you take advantage of those flash freeze stacks, which are really easy to get, by the way. You just have to use your charge dashes and you just go to town. Like, she's able to deal so much damage very quickly. So I 100% agree that she could definitely be a contender for the #1 DPS in the game on release for sure. Oh, go ahead.
I think this might be a hot take.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
I think she's number 2.
Bro, we not.
Um,
Are you so you saying is you even with Jian only having Nicole and what's the name as her primary team versus what's the name's best team? She's still #1.
I think Zhu Yuan. Okay, I'll put it this way.
If
If we're looking at this,
that's not Zhu Yuan.
no, freak no.
I'm saying,
it's
Coleta is number 1. I thought you was gonna be like, you know what? I think Coleta is right there at #1. I was like,
Yeah,
no
which-
way.
Yeah, you might as well add her up there too. We'll just talk
Yeah.
about Jian next.
yeah.
Coleta is not tier 0, but
Okay, good.
what we're talking about with Jian, why I think that she would be essentially better than Ellen. 2 types of players. If you're a casual player, you're like, you don't play action games or fighting games, whatever. Like, basically your execution sucks. You just don't know what you're doing and you don't care to know what you're doing. Ellen will be the better character. But if you actually know how to play the game, you actually take time to invest into like learning the game, you know how to play the character, whatever, Zhu Yuan is the better character. The amount of mobility that she has it's similar to Ellen's, but it's instant. Whereas Ellen, you have to double tap to get out of the way, right? Zhu Yuan's is built into her basic attacks. So you never have to stop pressing square or regular attack, whatever it is that you want to do. The same way that Ellen can manually build up her own stacks, Zhu Yuan can also build up her own stacks. Zhu Yuan's attacks are pretty fast compared to Ellen's. And that fight, like, she zips across the screen, right? So Zhu Yuan makes up for it by not having a dash, by simply jumping across the screen in between attacks. This is really good for her because now where you have an issue with, like, I guess like AoE, right? You can manually target who you're jumping between. So if you punch the crap out of one enemy, she can roll backwards and just, flying kick that guy in the face and then zip to the side and then bang, 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 bang. And now they're all gone, right? She also has corruption, which I think corruption is pretty strong, not for the same reasons that it is for freeze, but corruption is strong because it's a big ass explosion, right? Like you got corrupted, anyone around you is going to get exploded on. They're all taking this damage.
Yeah,
and then because of
sporadic ether damage.
Yeah, and like because of how quickly she builds it up with all those bullets and how many bullets she shoots out, like one bullet is like 5 hits. It's dumb. So she has a lot going for her in terms of just usability, damage, speed, and then a lot of things that we can kind of like compare to Ellen. But if we get into the whole team aspect of it, I don't think Nicole is a bad partner for her. If we're looking at T0 still, then there's some nuances there, but Nicole plus Zhu Yuan is still a really good pair. It activates both of their passives.
Yeah.
And then if you were to add another character, then we look at Ambi because that fits with, you need a stunner. It's going to also give Ambi her passive from Nicole being on the team.
Yeah.
And so you're fine, right? But like ideally, or not even ideally, but like I guess realistically, you don't need Ambi on that team because Ambi's core passive doesn't help anybody besides Ambi. It only increases the days multiplier for her. But if you were to just put Lycan on the team the same way that you had Lycan on Ellen's team, the same shit he does for her, he would do for the Zhu Yuan and Nicole team. The difference is you have to work a little bit harder.
Isn't that a part of his additional ability? That bonus, doesn't he have to have another person of his element or team to get that?
Oh, that's his core pad. You're right. You're spitting. So now you don't have 185%. You have 150%.
Yes.
That's my only issue. Is that
you
like
still have days combos?
How I think of tiers for this game is that I think of like Marvel and Dragon Ball, whereas that if I'm thinking about the character, I not only think about the character themselves, I think about what they apply to a team, and then how does a team elevate them. And if I'm thinking about the core units that both of them play or use to have them at their peak performance, Ellen's team just, in my opinion, just clears Zhu Yuan's team currently. Now, once Zhu Yuan gets her dedicated team, Zhu Yuan easily, I'm putting her over Ellen.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think most people.
What are we establishing is like the team then, right? Because from the sounds of it, it sounds like it's just Ellen and Lycan, and like that's just the rock solid core. Which I mean, it is. That's probably the best core in the game.
I would say that's her flexibility though. Ellen, she do Ellen Lycan. She can do Rena. Rena then automatically gets her bonuses plus the whole penetration ratio. She can do Sukaku. Sukaku gives them a whole attack buff, amping their damage for both Lycan and Ellen. She can do, who's another ice element? Are those the only two? Or she can do Corrin. Then they have Corrin.
Yeah.
Corrin gets her bonuses, and now you have Disorder a part of the team. Zhu Yuan doesn't get access to a lot of that.
I wasn't thinking about it that way, so I could agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about it more so from like just the character perspective, but if you're looking at it from like, I guess the whole team, like what can do from that, then yeah, I can see Ellen having that.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time before Zhu Yuan gets her spotlight though. Once she
I
gets
don't know, bro.
dedicated
Like you have to think about it. Now that he mentioned, because I wasn't thinking about Rena for a little bit, because I'm like, cool, whatever, Rena. But then I was like, oh wait, she's a part of the maid house, so
yeah, she just
they
gets
all
the
get
buff.
it no matter what. Yes, like they're all triggering everything no matter what. So like if Rena is on that team, Zhu Yuan has to have somebody else that basically drops defense because Ellen is the damage character.
I think her team's gonna be cracked. I think
her team's gonna be cracked too. That faction's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
I think honestly, with either of them, you can't really go wrong with either. I still think Zhu Yuan's free-to-play team that you can use with, as I've mentioned earlier, Ambi and Nicole, I still think that's a really good core. You're still going to be able to put in a lot of work with that comp. Oh, yeah. With Ellen in particular, though, yeah, on release, she is going to have more flexible options for sure. But if we are just looking at it from a release standpoint, that can technically give Ellen the edge over Zhu Yuan. But once we get later into the patches and we get more characters from Zhu Yuan's faction, or even more ether attribute characters, that's where you might see Zhu Yuan end up potentially having a overall stronger team. But you also have to consider the fact that you can't really go wrong with either because Ellen is an ice DPS, Zhu Yuan is an ether DPS, and when you get to the end game in Zenless, for example, for Shiyu defense, you have to have two teams anyway. So realistically, you can't go wrong with either of these characters. They're both really good characters. I will say personally though, I do have a bit of a preference for Ellen, but that is primarily due to the fact that I did get to play her in CBT2 and CBT3. So I've just been able to experience how powerful this character is. And I also did use her with Rena, by the way. So I know for a fact that that comp does work. Speaking of Rena, I'm going to say it right now, tier 0. I'm going to explain my tier 0, and it is mainly because one, she is able to provide pen ratio for the team, which is essentially ignoring the enemy's defenses. And when it comes to current value and especially even future value, I can see that stat being very, very valuable to take advantage of. And supportive characters in general, depending on what they provide for a team or just characters in general, I think Rena is pretty flexible with what she is able to provide. What DPS character wouldn't benefit being able to ignore an enemy's defense? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to basically have this, what I like to call it, a universal buff You can pair her with Ellen, as we've already stated, and you can pair her with other teams. And overall, she is able to be ranged. You have a good amount of distance between yourself and the enemy. And overall, I think that she's just a really great supportive character. She's personally the standard character I want the most. And she's also able to provide a shock damage increase to the team. So if you do pair her on an electric team, she will be able to give that additional benefit for that team as well. I'd love to know though if you guys disagree with the tier 0 placement, or just what do you guys think about Rena?
I think she's right there with Grace.
With EO saying that, I'm torn between the two. One, usually a large majority of the player base definitely ignore stuff like defense down or the penetration that we have right now. And what is the other thing that she gives? Is the pen and what else? Oh, it's electric boost, ain't it?
It's electric boost for the team, and it's also pen ratio for all allies as long as her puppets are on the field.
Okay, so like that's one thing that has me torn, because the defense down, no matter what, whenever a character has that, they end up staying alive for the test of time.
Yes.
Pella and HSR was there since version 1.0.
Exactly.
She's still one of the highly used units right now until current date. But the problem is, Lycan is go here stunning people forever. Zhu Yuan is Zhu Yuan with unlimited corruption, and Ellen's the same way with almost unlimited freeze and a nasty amount of damage. So it's like, I don't want to put Rena right there with those characters, but at the same time, I don't want to neglect a stat that everyone always ignores, and ends up being one of the most pivotal stats for a unit to be able to provide.
Right. Yeah, I think when it comes to, as you said, the test of time, Rena's definitely going to be one of those characters. At least I personally think, and I do agree, I think in the future she's going to be one of those characters a lot of people are going to be looking at.
Rena, as you, if we don't put her tier 0 now, I think that she'll be one that could progressively get there. Just because Rena's downside is that at the moment, the only two characters that benefit from her additional ability with the electric bonus is Grace and Anton, which aren't two horrible options, but she'll become a really shineable unit once there's an actual 5-star DPS that'll take full advantage of the extra electric damage. But like you said, pin ratio is a very valuable stat, something that people are going to neglect for now, more than likely, but that doesn't make her not strong. But 0.50 is still good as hell, so it really doesn't matter.
Me about to make a Rena tier out of bias.
Oh my god,
Rena.
It's your tier list. I just want to say, why did they put all these characters into one freaking faction?
They want you to use
all the best characters in one faction.
Yeah, they said you are gonna use this faction. All right, the Victoria Housekeeping, you're gonna do it. You know what? I'll actually make the tier. I want to now.
Oh my!
It's gonna be tier above.
Ain't no way.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like this.
Someone's gonna take a
Hey, I'm here for
screenshot.
it.
Someone's gonna take a screenshot of this and share it somewhere. They're just gonna see that's here.
Oh, can we? Speaking of new tiers, can we make tier 4 for Ben? Yes, sir.
Oh no!
No. We not gonna do that because you know what? He's top of T1.
Let's.
Wait, whoa. Top of T1.
He's right there neck and neck with Corn.
He's on top of Anton. That's all I'm giving you.
Wow.
He's on top
I'm
of
gonna give my
Okay.
reasons why. The only true downsides to Ben is, which we can grab him. The only true downsides to Ben is his movement. But the great thing about how
Can't even
characters
see the
work within this
anymore,
game.
bro.
What?
I said you can't even see the game anymore, bro. You cover up half your screen.
Bro, shut up. But like I was saying, the great thing about a lot of units that work with Ben is that they're either mobility units or they have great ways of staying close to bosses. The strong thing with Ben is that if you understand positioning in the game and you know how to position your units for when you switch in with Ben, desired range, Ben has attack buffs through his defensive stats. So as long as his defense is high, his attack is really good. He has the capability of putting shields all on his teammates, which, if I'm not mistaken, while they have shields on, his teammates get a buff from that as well.
Increased crit rate, which is already hard
Yeah.
enough to come by in the game.
That, and he has a built-in parry. He has great, which increases his survivability. Which I mean, he's a big chunky dude. Pause. He's already high. He's already high on survivability, from that alone. And in my opinion, he's just fun. He's a big lovable bear.
Ben is pretty cool. Honestly, though, if we don't give Ben his own tier, I think Gopa's gonna come after us.
Nah, he's staying there.
Oh my gosh.
Look, I think we should give him his own tier, Gopa. That's how I
The
feel.
Gopa
I,
tier.
I love the bear.
Yeah, Ben is cool. I think when it comes to his defensive capabilities, I mean, he is the only defense character, but those defensive capabilities are really useful early game and late game.
I said I don't like him.
Oh no.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna put much input on this. I still don't think he's stronger than Corn, in my honest opinion. But
Oh no, I was capping.
oh, dang, that man was like, look at that man lying to make Ben look better. That's crazy. But I'm not gonna say much on Ben in all honesty because I never played him in CVT 2 or 3 by choice. He's literally the only unit I had C6 in both betas and left him at level 1. So I'm just not gonna have a say on it.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm gonna let EO take the rest.
I agree with Soul. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I probably put Ben above Corn.
Oh
I probably would, because all right, look at it this way, right? He's the only defensive character in the game. Like I didn't even know that was a thingy until we got Ben or saw like that about Ben. The shields are really critical too, because it basically makes it so that you had interrupt resistance. Now you have double that. You just I don't care about what the enemy's doing at this point. And then he also gives you crit rate. Now that's a big thing because if we're considering the arena buff, which is a penetration ratio, we need to consider the fact that crit rate is really hard to come by in this game. Based on CBT3, they basically made it so that, you know, like a +0 crit rate, you'll start at like 2%. And then going to +1, you get like plus 1.4% crit rate, right? Or like plus 2% crit rate. They really decided to be stingy with the crit rate rolls. And we'll talk about it in a whole different video, but the, you know, we already know about like the W engines and the gear sets and just like how much or how hard it is to come around crit rate in particular as a substat and really hit, like it's hard for people to get like 70% crit rate, you know what I mean? So adding another 16% on top of that for free, that's really big, because that'll take you from 76 to 86, or my bad, from 70 to 86%, which is just getting you closer to 100%. And he's protecting you at the same time. Another thing about Ben that is kind of interesting, Ben works as a really amazing dazer, even though he doesn't have the daze or stunner, like the stunner tag. He's got the defensive tag, but Ben's parry. So if you use Ben to parry, he gets an enhanced stun with his particular like quick assist or defensive assist, whatever it is. And then he has I think it's a reactionary follow-up. So after you do the parry, you press a button and he just swings the giant, whatever that weapon is he has. I don't know what it's called. I'm gonna call it a hammer. He basically punches you with the hammer forward, and it does a bunch of hits and a bunch of days on top of that. So characters that don't want, or players that don't want to use Ambi, you can use Ben. And so now instead of looking for Ambi to give you shock and daze, Ben's gonna give you, I'm not even gonna say you get fire because his fire anomaly is ass, but you do get the stun and you do get the protection and the crit rate buff. So like he brings a lot to the table as a support character that's not really labeled as a support character. So I would honestly put him above Corn in tier 1. I think Ben is going to be one of those characters that everyone's like, I don't want Ben. Ben's trash. And then someone's going to be like, yeah, how'd you beat Shield Defense 99? Oh, I had Ben. What? Ben is that strong? Oh my God. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think Ben is really good, especially for his defensive capabilities, and the crit rate is pretty good as well. In CBT2, I did play Kaleda and Ben because Kaleda was my first S rank. And they were really good together. Ben helped me out a lot early game because I had major skill issue and was not good at dodging or parrying. So he definitely helps me out there. And in end game, he's pretty good there too, because once again, those defensive capabilities will definitely help you with just being able to keep your team alive. Those shields are really nice as well. So I think Ben has a lot of supportive / defensive utility overall, so I can 100% agree with him being a tier 1 character for sure. For the next character, we have Sokaku. I want to know what you guys think about her.
Just because she's dealt with ice, we putting her in tier 0. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
Wouldn't it be tier 1 for sure though? Like she's
bare minimum tier 1.
Yeah, she's an attack booster. She has one of her best teams already, providing a lot for them, and especially with how much, since we have Lycan that does days like
Yeah.
immediately. The fact that you're able to go in with Sokaku and freeze everyone immediately if they're not already frozen, and slightly group them, not in a direct way of grouping because she doesn't have any pull, but since the enemies try to lunge their way forward to you or try to get close to you, they end up getting caught in that vortex that she does, which allows them to get hit and end up building a little bit of daze or get frozen entirely. So I think that she provides a fat ton of value right now, and for what she's able to give with the attack, with the ability to freeze really quickly, I'm not sure about how her anomaly buildup is as much right now, but I still think she's a tier 1 character for sure, just because of all that she provides.
Yeah, her support value is really good. She's going to be because I said in one of my recent videos that she's going to be one of those free A rank units where you're going to look at your defense, you're going to see the best teams, where you're going to see the most used teams, and you're probably going to see Sukaku in there pretty often because of her support capabilities that Rehoo already mentioned.
Yeah.
She just and the fact that she's an ice element, that means she's going to be able to work with the mono ice team, which I think she is one of the primary characters on the best mono ice team, if I'm not mistaken. So she's going to get heavily used in 1.0.
I think she's gonna fall off.
That's crazy.
I think she's we're talking about the ice team, right? Like, or anybody on the ice team for that matter. She's the first one to fall off, and then
Of course,
we're talking about any other support. She's not the best in slot for anybody else's team either. So, like, while she's a great support, and we all love Talcoco, and if I'm not mistaken, like, getting copies of her increased. Actually, no, I lie. It doesn't increase the radius.
Talent 1 actually gives ice res lowered, so
yeah, it's really good, but it doesn't increase the radius of the tornado. And then, like, her kit is just nice overall. Like, there's some things about her kit that are not in your face, which makes her an even better character. So it's not. I think she's tier 1, but I think the longevity of the character isn't as strong as it could be due to the fact that a lot of like what she brings to the table is immediately available. Like, you get one copy of her, like you saw, you get the ice resistance shred, right? In her, her core passive, she already gives ice characters like a 10% damage boost or something like that. So she's already given you any ice DPS character. She's already given them the bonuses that they want. And to my understanding, getting more copies of her don't increase those. Like, it's not like it goes from like, oh yeah, the thing that you got at E1, well, now it's 90%. You get 90%, ice shred on the enemy. So it's going to be harder for her to compete with some of the newer characters that may come out in the future that offer what she does, but easier or better, or to more characters, whatever the case may be. But like right now, I think she's tier 1. Maybe. Wait. Because I'm looking at the rest of the list. We're gonna run into a problem.
No, we're not. We're fine.
Yes, we are.
We can readjust it at the end when we take the final look.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm looking at. Well, we won't do Miyabi. She's just there, but
Miyabi's tier 1. I mean tier 0. Let's go.
Hey, let's go.
You guys want to know something I just realized? This tier list doesn't have Soldier 11.
That's wild.
Okay, we're gonna we'll do her near the end. I'm just gonna have to input
that's
a
Miyabi.
picture.
That's Miyabi.
Oh my god, Soldier 11
Yeah,
is Miyabi.
just edit. Just do like a post editing.
Bro, people have been wondering where'd Miyabi go? She's right here.
Yeah, but like I'm looking at it, like Piper's just nasty. Lucy is fantastic as a character. I think Lucy's easily the best out of the supports right now. That's not Rena. So it's hard for me to say like Sao Coco is on that same level, because it's not like I don't see the value in Sao Coco. It's more like I don't think she's as strong as Lucy.
How about we bump Anton and Sao Coco to tier 2, and we put Lucy and Piper to tier 1? Because I know we're not putting them lower than tier 1. There's no way. They're kind of cracked.
I could see that. I could definitely see that 100%.
Do you agree with this decision, Soul? All order in the court. However that saying goes. I don't know how that saying goes.
For me personally,
that is not the saying.
Oh. What's the saying?
I would for me personally, I would still include her in T1. I would just put them all there. I would order it, and I would definitely put Lucy and Piper above her. If we're ordering it, but I don't think that that'll essentially devalue Sao Coco, because I think as we progress, from what I'm thinking, Lucy is going to run into a similar issue with Sakako. I think Sakako's true issue down the line is going to be is that she's so prevalent on buffing ice units that she'll suffer. And it's not that Lucy is in the same exact position, but I feel like that her down tread will be because because of the fire anomaly.
You know what? Let's wait until she comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
For Lucy specifically. So I can see what you mean. I guess for that sake, maybe they could all go in tier 1.
Just put them all in tier 1 because it's okay for the middle of the tier list to get more populated than the other two.
Yeah,
sections.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, are you guys, from what we did see about Lucy and Piper's kits, I know you guys are already saying tier 1, but would you like to explain why you think Lucy and Piper are tier 1?
I'm against it, so I can against still what Blizz gonna say. You know, you play fighting games, you play Guilty Gear. Lucy, Jackal minions, the little pig minions, they gonna be cooking because regardless if she's on the field or not, they stay out and they still do damage. And plus, I think she provides an attack buff as one of her core passives. If I'm not mistaken.
Attack buff.
And then if you get her additional ability, I believe her same crit damage and attack values are transferred over to the pigs when she's not on the field.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that she sounds like a pretty good unit to me. Then Piper, that's the character I'm looking forward to the most, being the finally having another anomaly unit right beside the Grace, and her being one of the best attribute anomaly elements, being physical. It's either she's tier 1 or we found out down the line she's gonna get creeped up to 0.5.
I wouldn't be surprised if she does hit 0.5.
Yeah, I can see 0.5 as well. But right
Because
now,
For now,
remember-
we'll keep it tier 1.
yeah,
Remember, she also boosts team damage.
Yeah.
As a
Oh
whole
yeah,
buff.
that's right.
yeah. I think in Piper's case, the fact that she's able to build up physical anomaly very quickly is really good, and I can 100% see her potentially being a 0.5 character in the future. I think she's really good at building up, of course, the physical attribute anomaly, but also being able to provide additional supportive utility to the rest of the team with her skill kit. I think is really good as well. And I think that she'll be a really good placeholder on teams that have different elements as well. Since Lucy and Piper are on the same faction, if you actually have both of them together, you could potentially do a Nekomata Lucy Piper team. You could also look at the fire characters, let's say Soldier 11. Totally not Miyabi, by the way, but Soldier 11, Lucy and Piper could potentially be an option. It just ultimately comes down to how these characters are going to synergize with the current roster that we've already seen in previous betas. Since Piper and Lucy are pretty new, we can't make too much firm decisions just yet, but their skill kits do look pretty good with the utility they will be able to provide. So I do agree with tier 1. I could potentially see them going up, especially Piper in the future. But yeah, that's just what I think. Next up though, we have Nekomata, who is a physical attack character. Where do you guys think she would be and your reasoning as to why?
Are we putting this in the hands of a mechanically well player or a casual?
Oh my goodness.
I think that we should be thinking like them being played at like their highest potential.
At their highest potential, tier 0.
So I think
Oh.
Oh.
The Nekomata man thinks she's 0.5.
I can't put her up there with Ellen and Zhu Yuan. If we're talking about the highest potential,
At highest potential, you're not getting hit with Nekomata.
you're not getting hit. But
Yeah,
like,
you're not getting hit. She has the things that you were praising Zhu Yuan about. Movement and being able to non-stop attack. That's what Nekomata is.
I think my biggest thing about it though is that she doesn't have, and I could be wrong because I just don't remember if she has that or not. I think she had. When the enemy's assaulted, if I'm not mistaken, she does more damage to them or something like that. Let me just hold on. Let me double check that.
And if I'm not mistaken, if that's the case, I know her additional ability is that if she has another assault unit on her team and they assault as well, she gets another damage increase.
It's after any character inflicts assault, increase the damage of Nekomata's next EX special attack by 35%, stacking up to 2 times.
That's her core passive.
It's the additional, which means that it's same attribute or faction.
I can see tier 0 at the highest level of play, and we're including the idea that she has her weapon too, like everybody else. Yeah, she's tier 0.
When I think of her, I'm also thinking like I did with like Ellen and Zhu Yuan as well. I'm not gonna do it, keeping in mind of that concentration and reading off of Piper's kit and her being able to pair with Lucy. That team sounds freaking disgusting.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the team I want, bro. I want me an E2
That team
Nekomata,
sounds
and I want a
disgusting.
Lucy.
You're not. You're not doing
Listen,
that.
If they're like mono ice team with Ellen top 1, top 2 out, on paper it might be Neko with Piper and freaking Lucy.
You know what? Now that you say that, I think I would say that that's the top 2 team right now. Because
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
if we're
yeah.
considering like the highest level of play, Rehoo's right. You don't get hit.
Yeah.
If you get hit, you did something wrong. Because like, she has
You have
invul in her
access-
dashes.
You have access to the back of the enemy character at any time you want.
And then she's got an amazing, like, as fighting game players, we value things like walk speed, dash speed, just movement speed overall. One of the things that we value a lot is like backdash, right? Like, how good is your backdash? Nekomata has one of, if not the best backdash in the game, because she literally does like a little hop and then she springs backwards and gets a lot of distance between her and the enemy. The thing that I talk about a lot of the time with Nekomata is something that nobody else in the game has. Nekomata has I don't have a name for it. You plink it. Plink is just where you once you
the
tap
full
something.
screen sprint.
Yeah, she has like a full screen dash attack, and nobody else in the game has that. So like on top of the crazy movement that she has and a really good backdash, she basically can backdash. If you don't get the dodge counter, you're safe anyway, and then you just go right back in to attack them. She also has some really good control on, like, I know at one point I was me and Grim were actually having this back and forth about it because he believed that she couldn't control where she went, and I'm like, just turn off auto aim. Like, if you're not locked onto a character, which you shouldn't be, you can control wherever it is that you want to go. It feels like she's single target, like somebody would assume she's single target because of the type of character she is, but her attack patterns are like zigzags. So you end up lining up enemies anyway and hitting multiple enemies at once with one attack. So it's really good. And like her dash attack going through, hypothetically, if for whatever reason all the enemies are lined up in the middle of her dash attack, they all get hit. I like it. And then her EX cross slash, bro, that's a big ass X, man. Like that. You ever play Wolverine? He does a berserker barrage. That's basically what that is. Like you're hitting everybody in front of you, man. Oh, you're like 0.3 centimeters to the side of my claws. Get hit anyway. Crit, assaulted, you're dead.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I could see Nekomata being a tier 0 DPS character. She has a bunch of movement, really good physical damage, and then the potential of the Piper and Lucy synergy can definitely be really good as well. So I could potentially see her having a really good team on launch if you do end up getting those characters. We'll just have to wait and see, but for right now, I could definitely see the potential of her being in tier 0. Next up, though, we are nearing the end. We have Koleda. What do you guys think about her?
0.5.
0.5.
And I guess to justify that, because I know somebody like, oh, why is Koleda? Yeah, Koleda's in 0.5 because Lycan's in tier 0. I don't think because he gives so much more than what she does, they can't be in the same spot. Like, he's clearly the better Dazer than she is. And Burn, at one point, I could have sworn, maybe this was in CBT2, but I don't remember. I could have sworn Burn like reduced the attack of the enemies or reduced the defense of the enemies, something like that. But when I checked it in CBT3, Burn didn't have that ability anymore. So now Burn is just kind of like there as like another DOT. And I'm like, that is not good for any type of fire team whatsoever. Like, they definitely want a defense reduction or a fire resistance reduction, something like that. And I don't think Burn does that. And she doesn't even build up. Her anomaly stacking isn't crazy either. She only has technically she only has like 2 fire attacks until you get the enhanced attack. And then everything she does on like the 2nd and 4th hit has fire behind it for a couple seconds. She days is pretty good. She's still solid. Like, she, has some crazy good days combos because she only has 4 hits, and they make up for that by doing a crap ton of days. And if you pair her up with Ben, then she has like a 600 or 700% multiplier for her days. But I think that's kind of the thing, is like, if you pair her up with Ben, and I know they're like, I don't like Koleda and I also don't like Ben. So if I used one or the other, I don't want to use them both. You know what I mean? And like, there's been a lot of people that have expressed that, like, they just don't like Ben's play style, or they don't like furries, so they don't want to play with Ben, or they just don't like Koleda, right? So like, having something that's like, oh yeah, all your damage is attached to this one character. But I will say, the unique combo thing is super cool. I just wish more characters had it. Like, imagine if Ellen and Lycan had something that Koleda and Ben had, like just a cool animation. That'd be sick.
You know what I wanted them to have? It was I think in a trailer it was Ellen and Corrin, and Corrin was riding Ellen's blade to get launched into someone.
Ooh,
that junk would have been so
Oh yeah, that
cool
was
if
from
they
the
had
recent
that.
on the recent trailers.
Yeah, that
would
junk
be
would have been
sick.
so cool.
Yeah.
I want team ults. Now that you say it out loud, I want team ults. If I go out of my
100%.
way to put them on the same faction, I want team ults.
Facts, 100%.
I can agree with 0.5. Good at dazing. She has pretty decent damage output as well.
Yeah, I think cause yeah, for I think Kaleda is like I said, she's the lesser Lycan, but that's not really a bad thing because Lycan is just busted. Ice element is super good, and fire from what we're seeing right now is probably the weakest anomaly at the moment, just because it doesn't really provide anything special. I think the great thing about Kaleda is that she's probably going to be the one that's going to push the chain attack meta, because she grants her team a 35% damage boost, and it stacks up twice whenever an enemy is stunned and they get hit by chain attacks. So with that sentiment, once there's characters that are going to be will come back to Mr. T3 man down there by himself, Billy. Once we have more units that have passive like Billy, where Billy's when after Billy performs chain attacks, his ultimate gets a 50% damage buff. Once we get other units like that that can synergize with Kaleda, chain attack teams are going to be really insane with her. Which is more than likely going to happen. Baby girl, even though she's not on the screen, it's Miyabi, but this is Soldier.
Don't worry, I'll surely I remember to edit Soldier 11. Surely.
she's 0.5. I would say she's 0.5 as well. I
agree as well.
I could see 0.5. I think she is a pretty fun kit, like just being able to either time her basics or be able to get fire suppression. I think that Soldier 11 being able to have multiple ways to get fire suppression, though, to imbue her basic attacks with fire is pretty good. But I do think when it comes to damage potential, I don't personally feel like she's up there with characters like Ellen and Zhu Yuan. And then when we consider Nekomata, that potential Piper and Lucy, plus Nekomata is also very fast, so she's going to be outputting a lot of damage very quickly.
I'm always gonna be a Soldier Pioneer. I love that character. I think she's a lot of fun. But being 0.5 isn't bad at all. But I do think and understand that as the game progressively evolves, and more than likely attack units are probably going to be one of the main units is going to get added to the game. She's just going to progressively get worse.
Yo, what if they add
progressively get replaced?
What if they add reactions later on where if they're frozen, you can melt with like Soldier's skill or like the fire?
Big thing. If they do stuff like that in the future, then she can maintain her place. But if not,
what's funny is I think they're gonna do that anyway. Like Disorder's kind of a little bit of proof.
That's true.
Towards that.
Is there any characters you would potentially say can be moved? Like you think we should move them, or would you say can be potentially a different tier, just like your own opinion, just say it out loud? Or do you think this tier list is overall pretty good for a pre-release tier list?
I think for pre-releases is fine.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think pre-release is pretty good. I think the major changes we will probably see towards probably the end of Ellen's banner, or maybe sooner. I think Piper and Lucy will probably move up.
Yeah, I can see that.
They'll probably be one of the only A ranks that could possibly move into 0.5. The only other ones I can think of is if people find something more crazy about Corrin, she could possibly move up. I think Billy might be one of those units that maybe we might be hard sleeping on now, and then somebody might find something. Because I'm not gonna lie, I put in a little bit of time with him, but not that much to truly see his full potential. But based off of like what you see, like first impressions in comparison, every other character in my opinion has had like a stronger first impression in comparison to Billy. But he could be a character that, if suited up correctly, he could be a potential of being at least T2.
Yeah, I would say I could see Piper and Lucy. I think what we should do is maybe 2 weeks-ish into the game, or whenever we feel is appropriate, we can come back to this list and we can just gauge, should we move characters? And if we decide, let's just add the assumption they actually have copies, depending on how accessible it seems like those copies are for our, I guess, post-launch 1.0 tier list. I think we should come back to this and see, were we pretty spot on with most of our things, even like going a bit into 1.0, or would we actually adjust? But we'll just have to wait and see. This was super fun to do though. If you guys want any last messages or I don't know, things like to say about the game, how you guys feel about the game, anything?
NB tier 0.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine.
Make sure to check out everyone that was in this video. They're all really, really good friends of mine and they all make amazing content. So do make sure to check them out for me. And if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe. And also, of course, go subscribe to everyone else in this video as well. Leave a like to support this video. And I hope you all have a great one. Peace.